you very much for staying on the marketplace. Welcome back. Now to a very fair story. The takeover of international oil company Hess Petroleum's assets in the Tunnel Cape 3 Points block by Norwegian company Aker Energy has been criticized by some industry players. The Norwegian oil exploration firm Aker last Monday announced it has taken over 50% of Hess Petroleum's stake in the block, which is subject to approval. Now, George Rafi has been following this and brings you more.
Reports monitored from some news websites in Norway indicates that Aker Energy is buying the American firm's assets for $100 million. According to Aker, it is planning to present the development plan for the block to government this year, with commercial production expected in 2021. The block, which is located a few meters away from the Jubilee field, holds an estimate of 550 million barrels of crude oil. However, for some industry experts that Joy Business has engaged, they are questioning the circumstances under which Hess, the American firm, disposed those assets to the Norwegian company. That is, whether Hess first sought the permission from the Energy Minister and the Petroleum Commission, and even showing the oil data to an external party with an intention of selling it. Also, whether the necessary local content requirement has been met, and whether the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation was also given the first right of purchase. Some of these analysts are even pushing for the deal to be put on hold if all these requirements were not met. Sources say Hess has to dispose its assets in Ghana because of challenges in securing fresh capital for its operations in the country.
All right, so let's still stay further on this development, and joining us via Skype for some further analysis on this development is Ishmael Jakumihi. He is Executive Director of the Kite. Now, Ishmael, what will make an oil company, and for that matter Hess, relinquish part of its stake in an oil block when we had an earlier information that international oil company Hess was awaiting the conclusion of the ITLOS case and subsequent approval of its POD?
Hello?
Hello, Ishmael.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, George, Emmanuel, I can hear you.
All right, so I wanted to find out what will, inform an international oil company to relinquish part of its stake when we had earlier heard reports that it was awaiting the ITLOS ruling to proceed further with development and, of course, approval by government for its POD.
Well, basically, it's a business, and if they feel they can cash in at this stage so that they bring in a partner to help them develop the field, I think it was a business decision that Hess took, and so long as they haven't breached any law, nobody can fault them for taking that business decision.
So why did it wait until this time to take this particular decision?
Well, the ITLOS thing was hanging over everybody's neck. There was so much uncertainty. So now that the ruling is out and they are in the process of submitting the POD to the government, if they wanted to assign portions of their interest to another party, the law allows that, provided they would inform the National Oil Company, GNPC, and I suspect they've done that because I've read in some of the publications that they're quoting the GNPC boss as being excited to have Akers coming into the scene.
All right, now could this be subject? I mean, the company's statement said it was waiting approval from government. Now it has gone on further to announce it even before the approval. Would it pose any problems to the industry?
No, they have declared their intentions to the GNPC that they intend selling 50% of their participating stake. So it's up to GNPC to raise any objection if there is any. But the law says that they will not be allowed to unduly withhold that approval. So unless they have a very strong case against the Norwegian company coming into our space, they will not be allowed to unduly withhold such approval. But yes, they can only do that they can only do that with the express permission of GNPC or the states. And I'm saying that I don't know whether the GMPC has any objection, because I've read, and again, it's in the same publication that announced the deal. I've read a quotation directly attributable to the boss of GMPC saying that they are excited to have ACAs coming in. So I would imagine that they wouldn't have any objection, but they didn't say the deal has gone through, but they're saying that they are proposing to sell and be subject to the approval of GMPC.
All right. So do you think there could be any, impact of this particular direction on our local industry?
Impact as in what sense?
Would it have any connotation on the petroleum industry should the takeover, be approved?
Well, yes. I think the Norwegians are noted for their transparency as far as the oil industry is concerned. And for me, if they're coming in there and they haven't breached any law, I expect that it's rather going to deepen the transparency as far as that block is concerned, because the Norwegians have a track record of being very, very transparent in their dealings. So I believe it's only going to help enhance transparency in the sector. But I think the laws and whatever needs to be cleared will have to be cleared before the deal is concluded. But from my point of view, I think it can only be positive for the industry with the coming in of the Norwegians.
All right, thank you very much, Ishmael. We would have to cut it short here because we're having a live feed from the Finance Ministry, and indications that the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, is giving an update on how the economy has fared, as well as progress on major government programs. This is a special engagement with financial and economic journalists at the Finance Ministry.
Banks sanitize, what they have inherited, and the resources we can put in. But it's a very serious and active thought, because for our SMEs to be able to perform, we need both access and cost of capital. And so we're going to continue to have the dialogue to see between moral pressure and actually putting resources in the banks to have that come down. So thank you very much for that question. Charles, where were you with your questions? Well, people, I know. I mean, I think it's a really good question, and I don't sort of personally take it whether my policies are working or not, but really to look in the face of Ghanaians, to begin to ask ourselves that who should respond first to the good numbers that we are generating, so that if foreign investors in March of last year felt confident enough to go 15 years and then give us that type of resource to go forward, then we should also begin to ask ourselves as Ghanaians, when are we also going to adjust to support the whole vision of a Ghana beyond aid and trust in what is ours, to move it to the next level. So I think it's a good question to ask as a nation, that when will we stop continuing to hedge? And maybe with time, as the consistency of performance occurs, certainly people will hold on to our currency. Contractors, Charles, I think both you and I are aware of the overpricing of contracts that we've experienced in the past, 6 or 7 years. So for me personally, it's a challenge to pay out if I'm not sure that, I am crystallizing a debt that may be 46% beyond, or 43%, looking at what the Auditor General came out with, where, about 43% of these could not be validated. So that becomes part of the restraint of being in a hurry to pay for something that may not be legitimate, but it creates, collateral damage for those who actually have legitimate bills. And in that, Budget Director Eva, we have a strategy of at least looking at 20% of those payments. And the roads minister has also gone through some of his validation and is bringing these up to us. But I think, you know, there has to be a balance of us paying enough, and now we are also, in addition to that, looking beyond the 20% we are paying, looking at every quarter another reassessment of what it is we have, and seeing whether some extraordinary payments could be made for that. But the essence, the challenge we have really is when, you know, 2/5 of what is lying in front of you may with all probability not be correct, whether you want to sign that check because the money goes away. But we are very cognizant of it, and the empathy level is high, so that those who need to work can go on working. So yeah, it's an area that we constantly are having to examine, tackle, and see. But I think, you know, when sometimes you ask contractors bring these questions up, I think you're also free to ask them whether they are legitimate bills that they have brought. I think that's fair for us as a nation.
Can you tell us what is the quantum of that audit? What is the size of the arrears now?
Well, I mean, the Auditor General looked through about 11 or 10 billion CDs worth of that and validated 57% of that. And we have made some payments last year. So, you know, you can work out the arithmetic. It is coming down. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Lisa, thank you. So I'll take another set of 4 questions. 1, 2, I saw George, 2, 3, and then I'll take a 4th one from you. So let's start with you. Your name and your press house.
Thank you very much. My name is Justice Lee Aduboy. I work for the Singapore News Agency and CNC Television. Honorable Minister, when you look at the GDP growth, you realize that it just performed according to projections, both globally and locally. And the factors that were given were inclusion of additional oil and gas production, and then the elimination of the crippling energy crisis of the past. Now, in this also, you look at the non-oil sector. It was only in the 3rd quarter that you saw a slight change in the performance of the non-oil sector. So this brings us to the question of what policy driver is government going to introduce, you know, going forward to ensure that the oil sector growth, you know, induces growth also in the non-oil sector. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lawrence, TFF. Some people have said it is time to activate the central bank, the 5% central bank financing of government budget, particularly if we can direct it to some critical sectors of the economy. Is government going to consider that?
Thank you. Lawrence from CTFM, right? Okay. Lawrence, let's have a chat later to clarify a story that was done earlier today about new taxes when you are done. George.
Yeah, good day. My name is George. I'm from Joy FM. I want to find out what's the debt position as we speak right now. I didn't get that from the market presentation. And has it got to do more with the expansion of the economy in terms of the debt-to-GDP ratio rather than deliberate policies to try and bring a situation down? I want some clarification on that one. You spoke about the engagement with the fund and it's going well. You're talking about it ending the program in December. Will you be able to implement all the reforms to end the program come December? Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll take a final question.
My name is Kwekutim and I work for GH1 TV. Mr. Minister, I'll put a question through. Now, in spite of all the wonderful figures that I've received today, indeed when I take my microphone out there, there's a concern that we really don't feel this in our pockets. So yes, you talk about inflation and how significantly we've seen improvement year to date, and they're like, well, for you, if you see it as jollof, go and eat. You talk about real GDP, significant improvement, and yet they feel, well, I still can't feel it in my pocket. Indeed, I'm just coming in from the Auditor General's meeting. I know most people here were not privy to be there, but the Auditor General himself admitted even that, look, even getting funds to give to my people to step out to do these accountability checks and everything, I am not getting for them because it's not been dispersed yet. So are we having quality figures on paper, and yet the situation out there is a little bit of hardship? If you can explain this, I'll be grateful.
Thank you. So just to recap the questions for this session, how are we stimulating non-oil sector?
And that was excerpts of the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta's engagement with business and financial journalists on the state of the economy so far. It's happening live at the Finance Ministry. It's still live on the marketplace now. Moving on, the Finance Ministry is optimistic revenue secured from oil exploration in the country would pick up strongly in the coming years. Recent data from the Bank of Ghana showed that the country secured $4 billion in revenue since it started producing oil in commercial quantities from 2011. The country has, however, saved $697 million, which has been criticized by some industry players. But Deputy Finance Minister Kweku Kwarteng tells Joy Business recent developments in the sector show the future is bright for Ghana.
We may have gotten more, but our oil industry is still young. As we explore more oil deposits and we get it, people begin to feel more confident about us. We can get better agreements because we are now more confident of our oil reserves. And so I am patient. We may have been able to get better, but the important thing is the things we do now so that going forward, we would address whatever challenges we had that got us to achieve less than we could have achieved. That is the important thing going forward.
Finally, how is the IMF review meeting going?
It's going well. As we have always indicated, we believe that it's the burden of government to exercise self-discipline, to watch its expenditures, to mobilize as much revenue as it can, and to live within its means. You don't need an IMF here to do that, but we do recognize that sometimes when you are a new government like this, especially when your immediate predecessor took you into an IMF, and at the time you came into office, the indicators were worse than they were at the time we were going into IMF. It put you in a difficult position persuading the market that this time around you mean business. So it's okay to have the IMF here. We will work with them up to the close of 2018 and hope that we are able to close this program on a positive note so that the market will be comfortable with our economy. But ultimately, what would deliver us as a country is not the presence of a head teacher IMF holding a stick over your head. What would deliver us? It's our discipline to mobilize revenue, to tame our expenditures so that we have a stable economy in which businesses can grow, create the jobs, and create the prosperity we want.
Now, with only a few days to roll out the much talked about tax stamp policy, Joy Business checks at some local manufacturing firms show that tax stamps are not being affixed on products yet. We also found out that local manufacturing firms are having challenges purchasing their fixing machines, which government ordered under the new policy. And we placed the spotlight on one such firm, the Coca-Cola bottling company, where Charles Aite has been engaging some authorities.
Here at the warehouse of the Coca-Cola bottling company, you can see tens of cartons of bottled, products here. Now, all these cartons do not have the tax stamps on them, as being, ordered by government. We shall be finding out the main reasons why, especially as the 1st of March deadline for the rollout of the tax stamp policy is underway. The size of this. Then I have here with me one of their products here, which doesn't seem to have a stamp on it ahead of the policy which is going to be rolled out on Thursday. And I do have the Corporate Affairs Manager, Bethel Yeboah, to explain to me why don't we have a stamp on this very product.
Okay, thank you. Before you would have the tax stamp on the product, it will mean that first and foremost you have acquired the affixing machine, and then you have the stamps, and for that matter you are affixing. But currently, as you know, I'm talking to you now, we have not, acquired the affixing machine, and so you would definitely not see, a tax stamp on our products. Okay.
But typically, if we were to see a tax stamp on this product, where would we have seen it? Which part of the bottle?
Okay, currently, according to the policy, it's supposed to be affixed in a manner that would be visible to the average consumer who goes to purchase at a shop outlet. Okay, so it would have to be affixed, on top, of the closure, as my hands indicate over here. Okay.
Bring you details of that report on our subsequent bulletins, particularly Business Live at 5 p.m. Now, away from that, mine workers have described as prudent the decision by AngloGold Ashanti to reopen the Obuasi gold mine for redevelopment. The mining giant last week announced it has reached an agreement with government to reopen the mine after it was shut down in 2014. There's more in this report.
According to the Ghana Mine Workers Union, the umbrella body for the mine workers, the move is critical to help turn around the dwindling fortunes of the mining sector. It maintained that workers must be put at the center of this redevelopment to ensure that they get what is due them and the right of association is respected, adding that any compensation package as well must be guided by best international practices. The union is also looking forward to see how AngloGold seeks to deliver on favorable investment returns looking at the current price of gold. The Mine Workers Union is also asking the public to follow with keen interest the redevelopment agreement which is before Parliament to ensure that Ghana gets the best out of the deal. It is also asking government to tread cautiously over a proposal by some of the mining firms for new tax waiver agreements.